What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to Come On Ref. I'm your host, Ben Parsons, and today we got some interesting stuff for you guys. We're going to do a little Browns recap, talk about Deshaun Watson, then go over Ohio State as they got a big game coming up, and then talk a little bit about that Cavs game last night. So, to start things off, the Cleveland Browns. They picked up the win last week against the Houston Texans. It was Deshaun Watson's first game back, and honestly, it was probably the exact opposite probably happened that a lot of people would have thought. Yeah, a lot of people thought Deshaun was going to be rusty, and he was. Uh, by no surprise, I mean he hasn't played in how long, so that was figured that he wasn't going to play. That he was going to play rusty. It didn't surprise me, or I'm sure it didn't surprise all of you. He finished the game going one with 131 yards, going 12 for 22, and he had one interception and 21 rushing yards. But like I said, that's pretty much what I expected for his first game back. No really like surprises there. He showed signs of what he's done in the past in this past game. So he showed signs that he can still be that playmaker. He's just gotta find his rhythm again. So even though he had a lot of his passes, he kept throwing low and to the ground, and I think that was just a sign of just rest. I mean, he could practice all he wants, but nothing at the end of the day, nothing comes down to what it's like being in that game and that in-game feeling. So no matter how much he practices or whatever, nothing comes down to what it feels like being in that game. So he's gotta get a few games under him to really get himself back. And it sucks that we're coming towards the end of our season, and I mean we still have a shot at the playoffs. And like I said, if they can run the table with these rest of the games, it gives us a slight chance. But it sucks that he only has a few games. He needs a few games to get himself back in his rhythm and where he used to be. But he honestly doesn't have that because we need him to be good now if we want a shot at the playoffs. So it's unfortunate, but I think he'll still be a great quarterback in next year. I don't want to start talking about next year. This year's not over yet. He's still got a chance, but I think next year he will really hit a stride with the Browns offense. And honestly, I think he'll hit it this year. I think he's gonna find his rhythm and get back going. Like he really had a you put him in probably the worst possible position for that first game at his old team, his old stadium, in front of all his old fans, and he's had some of his accusers at the game in the crowd. Like you put all on top of all that, it was his first game back. Like you put all that pressure on him. He's got the big contract. Everyone's watching, want him to perform in front of his old team and all that. Like that's come on, like that's a tough situation to go in for your first game back in almost 2 seasons. Like you can't really ask someone to go out there and play amazing for their first game back in that environment. I'm sure it was a hostile environment. As a lot of those fans aren't really happy that he left. There, you got some who understand, and then you had some who I'm sure were not really too happy about it. So at the end of the day, I don't think it's nothing to worry about. I expected this to happen. And I think as these next games go on, you're gonna really see him starting to hit his stride, starting to hit his throws again. He really showed signs of that this last game. He showed signs of what I liked a lot is he of his awareness in the pocket. Unlike Jacoby, like he could get out of a lot of sacks. A lot of times where Jacoby would have just took the sack or something, Deshaun was able to get out of that last game, and that's what I really liked a lot. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is going to be a huge boost to the Browns. A huge boost, being able to avoid sacks or be able to get out of it and have enough time to throw it away, then take that sack. That's gonna really help us. And I that's honestly one of the things I'm most excited about with him is his ability to be his awareness in the pocket and his ability to see things and like be that playmaker he can be. And so I think I think he's gonna be like his old self. After him not playing that long and still being able to have his awareness in the pocket, that to me was pretty impressive because he hasn't played in so long and he still I've seen a lot of plays where he was getting in and out of sacks and he'd see the right read, but he'd just make a bad throw. And at the end of the day, I think that just comes down to him having rest. He just gotta knock it off, get his rest going, get back in his rhythm, and get going again. And I think next game you'll really start to see him hit his stride, and he'll be all right. I Browns fans, I wouldn't be worried or nothing. I know the media was probably gonna talk, say, "Oh, he's getting over 200 million. I think it's like 230 something million guaranteed, and he can make a throw or something." Look, at the end of the day, we won the game, and he showed signs of what he can be, and I think he will get back to that level. You just got to give him time. But the defense was actually the story of the game, as the defense played I mean, this and the Bengals game, I don't know which game they played better. This game they scored more off of, like, the defense literally carried us to the win, as they had our only points in special teams with Donovan Peoples Jones having that turnover. I mean, not turnover, sorry, the punt return. But they this game they played like how they did in that Bengals game. I mean, you see what this defense can be. This in that Bengals game is what we expect the defense to be all year. So the question just comes like, why are they being why are they being so inconsistent? Why is the defense playing games like this? Yes, it was against the Texans. I get that. They're probably the worst team in the league. They got one win, I believe, all year. Like, yeah, I get that. But at the same time, like, that defense was really elite last game. And this just you for all the people who say, "Oh, it was against the Texans, they're the worst team in the league." They did the same thing against the Bengals. They shut them down. So this defense shows that they can be great. Yeah, I believe the Bengals didn't have Jamar Chase, our game or whatever, but the Bengals are still the Bengals at the end of the day. They still have Joe Burrow behind there taking the snaps for them, an elite quarterback. And when you can shut an elite quarterback down, you have to have a good defense for that. And we face the Bengals next week. Jamar Chase will be playing, but we have Deshaun Watson back. And I believe David Njoku will play this game too. He didn't play last week. So that will be a huge boost for the offense. Hope to see Deshaun hitting his throws more, get back in his rhythm, because we're going to need it against a team like them. They're looking good right now. They At the beginning of the season, they look like rusty, and a lot of people call it the Super Bowl hangover. But right now, these last few games, they're really starting to hit their stride. They just beat the Chiefs last week. We all know how tough it is to beat the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey. They are an elite duo, and really, it's a really tough task to beat that team, and they did it. So we got to get back there, and we got to get this win. It's a do or die game. I mean, you can't lose anymore if you want to shot the playoffs this year. You literally can't. One more loss, I say, puts us out the playoffs. If we went out, we end the season with 7 losses, we might have a shot at that wild card game. But one more loss, I think, will put us out the playoffs. And it's a tough team you got to face next week. The Bengals, they're looking good right now, but if that defense will come to play again and Deshaun starts hitting his throws, look out, because it could get dangerous out there. We could start surprising a lot of people right now. I think also having Deshaun back uplifts the defense, because, like I said this in the past, you start seeing the offense make plays like that, and the offense look great, and Deshaun making crazy plays and all that. That gets them hyped. That gets them ready to go. Like, they're gonna that makes them just even more have even more energy and make great plays, as you seen last week. And everyone's just saying, like, oh, like, the offense hasn't been the problem all year. The offense hasn't been this. Yes, we put up enough points to win, but unless you watch the Browns games, you wouldn't see this from the box score. The Browns, when it comes to that second half, that third, fourth quarter, we don't score. We don't. We literally, it's like all our points come in that first quarter, and we're done. They can't get nothing going for their life. So that's where I think Deshaun uplifts offenses. When it comes to those third, fourth quarter drives, you can't be a first half team. You can't score all your points in the first half and then expect your defense to keep the other team scoreless for that. Go when you keep going 3 and out. Like, our defense is gonna get tired. They're gonna get exhausted. You gotta have drives that go longer than 3 and outs if you want your team to have a good defense. And with the Browns, you see a lot of that this year. You've seen a lot of the three and outs in those third and fourth quarter when we need those drives. You've seen we couldn't make it happen a lot of times. We had to be, you can't just be 100% reliant on Nick Chubb to be able to get you to the end zone when you need it most in those third and fourth quarters. Because yes, Nick Chubb is the best running back in the NFL, but when a team knows all you can do is run, or they know you're most likely going to run, they're just going to stack the box, and you're going to be stuck to 2 yard gains. I mean, Nick Chubb he can't take on four defenders at one time. Like, these are grown men out there. They're in the NFL too. They're great players, so he can only do so much. And so, but I think with having Deshaun come back, and you have that elite quarterback. Yes, Jacoby, he didn't do terrible, but Jacoby couldn't extend plays at all, really. And I think that's what you're going to see Deshaun able to do a lot, is extend plays and wait for that guy to get open and make that throw, or make that right read, or just I think Deshaun will just I think he's going to take things to a whole nother level and surprise a lot of people. And I think because right now they just got a question mark. Yes, it won't be a surprise if he gets back to that elite level, but I feel like there's a lot of people out there that think Deshaun isn't going to be good again, as great as he was. I think there's plenty of people out there who think Deshaun be good but not great. And I personally believe that he will be great again, and I think this Browns team in general is going to surprise a lot of people, and they're gonna be a dangerous team. They just gotta get this defense under control, figure out what is the problem. Like we've said every week, the Browns last year. This is basically the same exact defense we had last year. And the defense last year was elite in our offense. So it makes no sense what's going on this year. I really don't know. I couldn't tell you what's going on. Like, is at this point, I think it's really just all mental, because these are the same players we had out there last year who were making plays for us. So I think it just come, and we had the same defense coordinator. Nothing changed, and everyone blames it on him. And at this point, I mean, if we have a bad last few games, then yeah, I think you probably need to fire him and make a change this offseason. But he's the same guy who led you to, I know for sure it was a top 10 defense last year. It might have been top five even, but I know for sure it was top 10. And if this is the same guy who led you to that great defense with these same players, what's going on this year? I think that's why I think it's all mental right now. And something's just, I don't know, something's going on with them, but they looked great last game, and we're going to hope they continue that for the rest of the season and give us some hope going into the off season of what we need to do for this team to reach that elite level next season. But next week, like we said, we're at the Bengals. Tough game. Is it? I'm not sure if it's home or away actually, but I believe it's away. But like we said, it's a tough game, and I don't know. I think we could pull it off though. You got Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, but Sean Watson, Nick Chubb, Amari Cooper, and David Njoku. I I like them right there. I like our chances against the Bengals next week. I think Deshaun hits his stride, goes for over 200 passing yards, and starts to find his rhythm. And you start to see that old Deshaun next week. I think it'll be a good game. It's going to be a great game next week versus the Bengals. And hopefully we get things back on track with our offense. But now, Ohio State, we got blessed. Everything we needed to happen to make the playoffs after that loss to Michigan happened. We got redemption. We got our second chance. You don't normally get those in college football. You lose that big game once. That's normally your season right there. It costs you your season. That's normally how it works in college football. You don't really get second chances. But the Buckeyes, they got lucky. Everything we needed to happen. TCU lost, and most importantly, USC lost big, and that's really what we needed to happen the most. And the College Football Playoff Committee put us in that fourth seed, so we are officially in the playoffs. Our regular season doesn't matter anymore. That loss to Michigan doesn't matter anymore. No need to talk about any of that. We have a game versus Georgia on New Year's Eve at 8 p.m. with a shot to go to the college football championship. It'll be a tough game. If Ohio State wants to win this game, they are going to need to play their best game of the season. They're going to need to show why everyone's been saying they had that number one offense. And whatever happened against Michigan, they need to, whether I believe that game was probably mental too, they need to get out of their heads. They need to get everything together. They need to really lock in for this game because Georgia is no just brush over. You want to beat this team. You need to play the best game you have all year. We need C.J. Stroud to be on point. We need Marvin Harrison to be on point. We need our running backs healthy, and then to be. We need that defense. Most important, we need that defense to be locked in, because what happened against Michigan isn't going to cut it if you want a chance to move on. And what happened against Michigan also, if that happens again with that defense, you're going to see some people, you're going to see some changes in this all season. You might see some people getting fired. So this is honestly a legacy game for Ryan Day and CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud, a lot of people has a knock on him saying he's never won a big game. He hasn't won a big game yet. And yeah, it's true, but he also, you got to think college quarterbacks haven't played like 1 to 2 years. But he hasn't. He has yet to win a big game in his career. He's lost to Michigan both years. And he did win that Rose Bowl that we were in last year. But I mean, come on, like when you're at Ohio State, there's different standards. You want to win a big game, you need to beat Michigan, you need to win the Big Ten championship, and you need to win a playoff game. That's the standards at Ohio State. We're not like every other school. When you come to play for a school like Alabama, Georgia, or Ohio State, those are your standards. You need to be elite, not just we made a big bowl game, we finished, we only lost 2 games this year. No, that's a bad year. So they're gonna have to be on point. This Georgia defense is amazing. They're gonna be a very tough team. We honestly, we're just gonna have to. We got to play the best game we have really in our past couple seasons. This needs to be the best game we've ever seen to CJ Stroud. Ryan Day, this is a legacy game for him too because he's right now, a lot of people think he's on the hot seat. He has an amazing record, but he same thing with him. He's not winning big games. I mean, he keeps losing to Michigan 2 years in a row. You cannot lose to Michigan 2 years in a row. He hasn't won a national championship. I mean, this is a legacy game for him too. If he wants to prove himself that he is that elite coach and our long term coach, which I believe he is, then he needs to win this game and shut everyone up and block out the outside noise. And he needs to, this is really a legacy game for Ohio State. They need to prove that they are still that elite school. Ryan Day is an elite coach. We're still elite, and they need to go out there and get this win and upset Georgia because everyone's picking Georgia to win. But one thing about Ohio State is they don't care what people think, and they will go out there and shock everyone. So, Georgia, I'm telling you, don't. I hope they don't sleep on Ohio State, and I hope they don't get too cocky because Ohio State is elite, and they will shock everyone and go upset that number one team and make the college football playoff championship. Michigan faces TCU. So, without looking too far in the future, though, say we beat Georgia, Michigan beats TCU, we get a rematch of that game on the biggest stage in the college football championship. That'd be a heck of a storyline. Get your revenge in the championship game. I mean, that this would, you got the greatest rivalry in college football on the biggest stage. That'd be a heck of a storyline, but we can't look that far ahead. We got to deal with Georgia first, which is no easy task and going to be a heck of a game. I believe that we can pull it out. I really do. Uh, this Ohio State, they're not a bad team at all. They're really not. They every year they have that one game where they just don't play good and they lose. And unfortunately, that game came against Michigan where we just didn't look good at all. We looked good in that first half, and then that second half, we just That secondary killed us. So we're gonna need them coming to play if we want to beat this Georgia team because they are, like I said, no easy team. It's gonna be a hard game, but I think we do pull it off. So we got a lot of time to that though. We got a few weeks. It's not till actually I think we got 4 weeks still, like a month or no 3 weeks. It's on New Year's Eve. It'll be a heck of a game. We'll keep you guys updated every week with any news or anything that breaks with that, what people are saying about it. But Jackson Smith Najigba, here's some news to you guys about that came out a few days ago. He will not play. He has officially said he's going to the NFL draft and won't play for us again. Which we knew who was going to go to the draft that this season, but that sucks that he can't play in these college football playoffs because he was potentially the best wide receiver in college football this year that he was supposed to be. And ever since that very first drive against Notre Dame, he's not been healthy. And he started to play a few games throughout the season, and he plays and then just uh, messes it up even more, and it just aggravates him. And so he really hasn't played a game for us all year. If we're talking about playing healthy, he's not played a healthy game yet this year. Luckily, though, we Ohio State receivers are elite, and there's always going to be another guy there who can step up and pick the big boy pants on and make some plays. And that this year was Marvin Harrison Jr., who has put the Ohio State offense on his back. I would have loved to see what Marvin Harrison, Jackson Smith, the Jigba would have done this year. Because seeing what Marvin Harrison Jr. has done just out there being the main guy by himself, has been ridiculous. You put a guy like Jackson Smith, the Jigba, who I think if he would have played this year and had a good year, was a guaranteed top 10 pick. Oh my goodness, that offense might have. Oh man, that offense would have been unstoppable. They're already been elite this year, but if those two would have got to play together, they better. Other teams, they better be happy he wasn't healthy because it would have been a scary sight for other teams. But Marvin Harrison, I think he can lead us to this championship. I think he really can. And the good news about that is he will be back next year, as this is only his second year in college football. You got to play 3 years. So we have him for another year next year. And he was the best receiver this year in college football. And he still has another year before he can go to the draft. So he's going to just next year is just I mean, I think he might be a top five pick next year as long as same thing doesn't happen to him like Jackson Smith to do, but as long as he can stay healthy and everything next year and have another good year, I think he's a top five pick. I mean, it's just insane the things he does this year. It's just he is an amazing receiver, and he will be one of the best in the NFL in a few years. And as long as he stays healthy and has a good year again next year, I think he'll be a top five pick. But let's move on to something other than football right now. We talk about the Cavs. Haven't talked about them in a couple weeks. They've been dealing with a lot of injuries recently. Um, had a lot of things not go their way recently. But we got some of our main guys back finally. Started to get a little bit healthy again. And Jared Allen came back last night. And as you see, when we have Jared Allen out there, that uh, that that really helps us a lot. Let me pull this up real quick. As last night we beat the Lakers 116 to 102 on Jared Allen's game back, and he played. He played great. He let me look real quick. He finished with 24 points, and honestly, he had a great game. 24 points and 11 rebounds. So double double for his first game back. You could really tell we missed him and we need him out there. He brings our offense and defense to a whole nother level. Jared Allen is a guy you don't want missing games, and he takes his Cavs team to another level. And when he's out there with us, we're a completely different team. Also, Donovan Mitchell played unbelievable last night. Well, mainly in that second half, he just took over. You seen him took over. He even hit the dagger for us. to send the Lakers home at late in that fourth quarter. He finished with a season high for him of 43 points and a what was it 43 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists, 4 steals. So him and Jared Allen last night had great games. They weren't the only ones. Darius Garland had 21 points too. So I mean, when you got Jared Allen with 24, Donovan Mitchell with 43, and Darius Garland with 21, right there's your recipe for success, and that's why you need all three of those guys healthy. You can't forget about Mobley. He had 12 rebounds and 7 points, so quiet game for him, but that's because, as you see, we had our other three main guys taking over, so can't really complain when your other three guys are taking over. I mean, Donovan Mitchell looked elite last night. When that step back three he hit late in that game for the dagger that was whew, that was a heck of a play, and I think the Cavs are going to be just fine, even with their little losing streak they had. I think they're going to be just fine. The injuries just hit them. It hits every team. We're going to be fine as long as we can stay healthy throughout this year and be healthy by playoff time. The Cavs are not a team you're going to want to see in the playoffs. They are not, and I think we're definitely going to make a run. This team we have, this team we have is special, and their chemistry is getting stronger and stronger every single game. And you see Donovan Mitchell getting closer with the players, getting better chemistry. And what a lot of people see with Donovan Mitchell is he's a superstar. When you know you can go out there and get over 40 if you want every night. And yet he last night he put up 43, and yet he's still a team first player. That's the type of player you want on your team though. When you got a superstar on your team, that's why our team is so good. You got a superstar on your team, and he's still a pass first guy. He's still gonna look to get his teammates involved. He's still gonna do all that. He's not looking to just ball. He's not looking to just take over the game by himself. He still looks to get everyone involved because he knows that's what makes us most dangerous when everyone gets involved. And last night, you seen he goes for 43, but Garland still goes for 21, and Allen still gets 24. So that just shows you right there he wasn't taking every shot. Like that's what I like so much about Mitchell is that he's not just a I'm taking every shot. That's the only way we can win. He's gonna go out there and look to make plays first, and that's why this team is so good together. Their chemistry is great. You can tell they really love playing together. That locker room is really good together. That locker room is special, and this reminds me of that 2016 team, how close they all were. You had like Kevin Love, Richard Jefferson, and LeBron, and everyone. Everyone was such good friends, and they loved playing together, and they had so much fun with it. And they're giving me this team is giving me those 2016 vibes where you really just see everyone enjoying playing with each other, having fun. That's what the most important thing is out there that leads to wins is when your team is having fun together. They generally enjoy playing together. That's why this team is so good right there. And it's only going to get stronger throughout the season. And Ricky Rubio will be back soon. I think within a month he'll be back. And that just gives you a whole nother boost off the bench. When you got a guy like Ricky Rubio, who last year you've seen when he was playing. I mean, he looked like he was in his prime self again. He last year coming off the bench, he looked amazing for us. He was running the offense great. That's gonna give Mitchell and Garland more time to rest. They don't have to be as tired, less chance of injuries, everything. They have them stronger for the end of the game. When you can have a guy like Ricky Rubio come in to run your offense, you can trust that he's gonna make the right plays and he can score too. Like Ricky Rubio coming back is only going to make this team even more dangerous. And honestly, this team is without a doubt, title contenders. And I think they've reached that elite level. There's people out there who question if they are, but I think they've reached that elite level. I when Ricky Rubio coming back is just gonna really solidify that. I mean, I believe the teams right now in the NBA who are that elite level are the Cavs, Celtics, the Bucks. If you're looking on the Western Conference, I say the Suns, probably the Mavs, and right now, I mean that's probably all I can say that are elite level because I think those teams right there are probably the only ones who I could say are on that elite level. Uh, the Grizzlies look good too, but I don't know if I'd say they're elite. I think they can make a run in the playoffs and have a shot at the finals, but I don't know if I'd say they're elite. I say probably just the Mavs and Suns over there, the elite. Like when I mean elite, I mean like elite, like top team, top two over there. I say those teams are probably your elite teams. I may be missing one or two, but those are my five teams who I would say are elite: the Cavs, Celtics, Bucks, Mavs, and Suns. And then, of course, I mean, over there you also got other great teams who can make a run, but I wouldn't say they're like juggernaut teams. But it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens in this year playoffs because you got a lot of good teams this year, a lot, and I'm excited to see what happens. I mean, honestly, it's a coin flip with whoever could win the finals this year. You got so many teams that are good this year. It's really a coin flip. Whoever gets hot in the playoffs, they get hot at the right time. Whoever is healthy, that's who you're gonna see win. Honestly, because it's a coin flip. You got so many good teams this year. I couldn't even tell you who's gonna win. Um, in my opinion, I know another team that people would say is elite, Golden State, but honestly, I don't think they're elite anymore. I think they're great. I think they're good. They're a really good team, but I don't think they're elite. Like Clay Thompson's, he's on his decline. Steph Curry's still Steph Curry, but Clay Thompson, he's not Clay Thompson anymore. Draymond Green's, look, man, that trio's they're getting old. And besides Steph Curry, I don't think they're playing elite anymore. Jordan Poole is also really good, uh, but outside him and Steph Curry, I don't think anyone's elite on that team. That's my opinion. I know that could be a hot take. I'm sure there's probably plenty of people out there who might disagree with that, but my opinion, Steph Curry and Jordan Poole are the only elite players on there. I don't believe Klay Thompson is elite anymore, and I don't think Draymond Green is elite anymore. Their center, James Wiseman, I don't think he's elite. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. Let me know how far you think the Cavs can go in the playoffs this year. And we'll just wait and see what happens this year. We got a lot of exciting things. Hopefully, the Browns looking to get back on their feet, see what Deshaun Watson can do next week. Ohio State looking for that redemption, and the Cavs looking to just keep solidifying their rank as a top team in the NBA. So that'll do it for this episode. It's been a great episode. Appreciate you guys for tuning in every week. Um, we're continuing to get episodes out for you guys, and just make sure you leave some feedback down below in the comments and like and subscribe. And if you're going to subscribe, just hit that little bell right above the subscribe button, and it'll turn on the notifications for you, and then you'll be able to get a alert every time we post a video for you guys. So thank you guys for tuning in, and that'll do it for this week. I'm your host, Ben Parsons, and I'll see you guys next week.